call a class for its description and list it as a charter, its location on disk, all the private data of the class, any description associated with any control of the private data, as well as the data type, and for the name, if it's like a cluster, then I post-append the square brackets. And if there's an element in the cluster, I denote hierarchy with periods. If there's an array, then I denote that with the square brackets. And if there's an element inside the array, I denote that with period. Okay, so you got that. Then for the members, I give, of course, the method name, its scope, if it's dynamic dispatch, must override, and I give you the option to include a must override reason, as well as a must use parents implementation reason, and then the description. Helpful? Useful?
Here's my problem with that, though. Is the LabVIEW IDE makes it a pain in the ass to put in half of that information. So obviously your tool is going to pull shit out, and then it's going to, it's only going to be as good as the input data.
That's absolutely right. What's the alternative?
I know. I'm going to whine is the alternative.
The alternative is saying it's hard and not doing it.
Sure.
Well, that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, that's what I do.
But honestly, like for a VI description, I have a quick drop toolcut that or whatever that I control space open quick drop. I type my description, I hit my shortcut, that puts the description.
That's awesome. You have the same thing with like the class itself?
No, because you can't quick drop from the project. Well, I guess you could.
What about an instance of an object block diagram?
I don't do that.
Well, hurry up and fix it.
I never read that.
I like that. I like that idea.
The quick drop shortcut's good. And
is that published or is that just a view?
Do we want to talk about publishing code?
Hey, I don't need much for Crystal.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. So we'll table the publishing code comment. It is published somewhere on the internet.
Sure.
What about if you're doing classes by reference and your private data with DDRs?
Right. So
You then interrogate.
I could. I don't right now. So what's cool is this whole entire system is based on classes, which means you can override it. You can. That's my answer to everything.
So you can also, if I want to use it to generate a PDF of similar things,
yeah.
I would change the Confluence part to the PDF part.
Exactly. So I have made a separation of, I have this idea of generating a report, and then there's a Confluence API that I've created that accepts a report. But you could just as easily make a PDF that accepts class type report.
Right.
Field it. So I separated those two things out.
Yeah, hey, sorry to interrupt y'all, but I just got news that if you don't have this card yet, it is the website that all the LabVIEW stuff has been on. That will be on for all the sessions that you may have missed. I also got the news that it may have the 7 unsigned content that the speakers were not here to perform today. So you guys are all in my system, and it will be connected with your email addresses too, and you should get an email whenever that content is posted. So I'm going to put these cards right here for y'all, that y'all can grab them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I forget which version of. I saved this in 2014. Hold that thought. I want to actually show you the application. It's not even worth calling it an application. You'll see. It's the worst at being the worst.
I think I'll wait. No, I yeah, we need one more worse than this.
It's the worst at being the worst at being the worst. Whoa!
Or it's not the worst.
Great. Come on.
If only you could double click on the project and it would open, like, I don't know, the LabVIEW version that project was saved
I
in
know,
instead of the random LabVIEw version
it exists.
to have open. Guys, I think I'm the first one to ever think of that.
What's his name? I can see his face. It's Saul. Close. All right. So this is it's not really an application. This is an example on how to use the API. So here's my Confluence class with my username and password to all things Cirrus Logic. So yeah, ****. So yeah, the Confluence class, you say that you want to establish a connection, then you actually establish the connection.
This is the Confluence API.
Yeah, this is everything blue right here is the Confluence API, and then you can ask the Confluence API for a specific page by an ID number, or you can ask for it for like the name or whatever. There's a couple different ways you can grab a page. Well, in parallel, I'm going to create a class report that I'm going to generate the report, and one of the pieces of information that I put inside of my class is that unique ID number. So then I ask the report, hey, where should you live on Confluence? That's what's going on here, the report destination. Then I take the report, I pass a page into it, and poof, this page now contains this report. I take that page and push it up to the server. That's it, you're done. So that's my full API. It's really complicated. Question?
So when you publish an update to it, does it keep the history in Confluence?
Yeah, that's what's beautiful about this. As a matter of fact, yeah, so there's two different things that you can do. You can attach a custom comment to each commit. That's what this thing is. So this is the validation resources version of my library 2.0.0.99. And you can also choose whether or not to notify everybody who's watching the page there's an update. That's what this Boolean true false is. So that's all I got. If you don't stop me, I'm going to start talking about my build system, which is supposed to go over the world. Does anybody else want to show off anything?
I want to talk about sharing code.
Go for it.
How many people have code that you would share if it was trivial to publish it? How many people don't publish it on the tools network because it's a pain in the ass? How many people are stoked about VIPM or use VIPM? Do you use VIPM because you're stoked, or do you use VIPM? No, VIPM.
Via package range.
Yeah. Are you stoked about VIPM, or do you use it because you have to?
It's right now the best alternative to distributed source, I would say.
Basically, I got big dreams.
Until NI Package Manager comes out.
I got bad dreams.
That's not going to distribute source.
Yeah, NI Package Manager can distribute source.
But it won't.
No, it can. It can today, right now.
Yeah, but they've committed to not.
False. They've committed to doing it.
In the roadmap, they said they wouldn't.
Chris.
That VIPM exists in parallel with
Yeah.
NIPM, and NIPM is for applications.
NIPM is for runtime code.
Yes.
And
Sure.
in the long-term roadmap, it will be for reuse libraries.
For right, so I've been talking with Alan Sue about this. Alan's the guy who's over that.
Yeah, he owns that.
You're right. So he said that this is not a one-to-one replacement. For example, one of the things that NI Package Manager can't do is install palettes. So it's IDE customization host. But the source files will be stuffed in the right place. So you can take all the VIs and put them on
So
this.
here's the thing though, NIPM can put a package's contents in a place.
Correct. You can't put
So
it in
you
multiple
can't
places.
put something, you can't install it in VI or LabVIEW 2014 and LabVIEw 2015.
Well,
It doesn't have that.
He said there's a
Yeah.
hack that he did to do that.
So, all right,
so you
so,
can copy it in multiple places and mass compile in place.
Yeah.
so here's my proposed solution, and this is stealing from other programming languages. You shouldn't install your packages to LabVIEW. You should install it to the project. So you should have some sort of file that lives next to your LVproj file that has a list of all the packages that this project should use. That lets you, and if the packages are installed like next to the project in the like subdirectory, in a similar path, you can check those into source. You can check the packages into source code control. You can definitely check the package dependency list into source code control, and now your CI server can just run a command to parse that list, get the packages as needed. So I have a tool that does all of this. With NIPM coming out in the future, that tool's future is questionable. But it kicks ass right now for current gen distributed source code. In addition to all that stuff that I have server-side code that I wrote that anybody who creates an account on my website can publish code to. So that means that all of your code that you guys have written, like your time delayed send or your time delayed send with the double whatever, you could just say publish to the registry, and now everybody can use it. Because I've been going around at NIWeek this year, and almost every presentation, somebody has written a bunch of code, and they say, "Here's my GitHub repo."
Right.
And that is not a great solution. That is a workaround solution.
But is that, would they store all the revisions to the source on your server?
They store they have their source code control that lives in GitHub or wherever.
Right.
And then when they want to release a version, they hit the publish button, and they upload it to me.
Oh, but
So if anybody's familiar with NPM and the JavaScript ecosystem, I'm copying that very blatantly.
So this is for distribution, not necessarily community development.
Yes. Yeah, so all right, so let's say you download a package, it has a bug in it. You would still go to their GitHub repo. The metadata of the package tells you where that is. You would fork it, you would fix it, you would submit a pull request. That process is all Git, all that kind of stuff. My package manager doesn't really do any of that. But then once they publish it, everybody gets it. I don't know. I think basically one of the things that is screwing over the LabVIEW community is that we don't have a good way to low barrier to entry share all of our code. And there's right. Right, and so like there's a bunch of people who like have code that's kind of like beta-ish, so they don't want to put it on the tools network yet.
Yeah.
You would just publish it, and then whoever wants to use it sees that its version number starts with 0, so we know it's beta, right? But I'm willing to take that risk, or I'm willing to help in the development. And then also it's like, oh well, this is kind of shitty. It doesn't really do much. It's not worth it putting on the tools network.
Yeah. I mean, that's the exact barrier I'm facing with this auto documentation.
Right, you would just post on my thing, and my thing would have like 1 billion packages, and then I would rule the world.
Okay, now I think we should reconsider this.
Yeah, I don't know. So basically, I came into, I mean, I'm just whining at this point, but I came into NIWeek real stoked on this idea, talking about the NIPM stuff. I think that in the next gen world, there will be not distinct enough of a solution, or NIPM will address enough issues that my solution won't be unique enough to get the crowdsourcing minimum it needs to kind of work. But in the current gen world, I think I could crush VIPM. And
Can we interact with your system programmatically?
yes, obviously.
Okay, well,
So the grumps that I have with VIPM, right? I don't know, are there any JKI people in here? the grumpy bits that I have with VIPM has to do with VIP configuration files. You need a pro license to create.
That's correct.
The API you need a pro license to use. That means my continuous integration servers all need pro licenses.
That's correct.
The package configuration is less automatic. Creating the VIPC files is less automatic than it should be. AKA, I should have this project has these packages and that project has those packages. The fact that I have both of them open at the same time, I'm not going to get, I shouldn't be screwed over in that situation. I don't know. I want this tool to work. It's alpha level right now.
So where do we find it?
It's on the server. Well, so right now,
It's on its
so I can show. I mean, if you want to get into this, I could show them. But I'm definitely like stroking my own ego over here.
You have 7 minutes each.
Yeah. So basically, I have a computer sitting in my basement that has the NIPM repo hosted on it. So if you want it right now, it's like derekrules.ddns.com or something like that, some free whatever.
You're really not trying to take over the world,
Well, that's not going to be the real. But anyways, basically, you install it through NIPM right now. And the dream is NIPM is runtime code, and my thing is reuse libraries. So
So I would maybe like to talk to you more about, is that coming from Alan?
Nothing's coming from Alan.
No, that, what you just said, that vision.
Oh, no, that's me.
Okay.
I basically, NI is really good at getting things close to what I want, but I feel like they always miss a little bit. So, so I don't, and when you know, I've been talking with Alan for a couple of years now, and every time I talk to him, I don't want to time around. There's not the level of responsiveness needed in a large corporation to do what I think needs to be done, or to respond to the needs that I have for a tool like this. So I like the idea of this being a community-maintained tool. So, all right, so I'm going to show you real quick here. So, oh, I thought I did. I did. I got to hit the right button. 4. Sorry, guys. All right, so I'm creating a new project here. So we'll sure Untitled 2. I'm going to hit the button that says launch the browser. So this is a standalone application. This is some initialization stuff. So if I'm publishing the package, that initialization stuff matters more, since I'm just consuming it, consuming packages. I'll leave that package stuff the way it is. I'll hit browse here. So now I'm on the internet. Give me a second. Maybe I'm on slow internet. Yeah, apparently I'm on not good internet. 1 second. Yeah. See, it's like we all write the same crap over and over again, and it's because we don't have a good way of sharing it. So if you're at the CLA Summit this year, I'm definitely going to do a presentation that's we're a terrible community and when we need to fix this. And
terrible as much as just not unorganized, just
well, and that's what I'm saying is like here's how we all post. Sorry, like I said, this is like alpha level crap, so I'm getting random errors here that aren't being handled appropriately. But we all post stuff on GitHub. I have a bunch of tools that I have open source, and I've never seen a pull request. I've gotten 2 emails asking questions, that kind of stuff. So that's when I say we're a terrible community. That's what I mean. So we all say, this is open source. You're going to help me do this, and then nobody ever does that.
I mean, that's always a challenge, right? If we make a new place, is it going to change?
Well, it's mine. No, I think that that's a valid concern.
I think another thing is, I think there's a lot of ignorance in the LabVIEW community about using source code in general. Maybe it shouldn't be at this level, but like, I don't know. I talk to people who I think know a decent amount about LabVIEW, and if I tell them, go do a pull request, go fork my stuff and do a pull request, they'd be like,
right, and honestly, the presentation that I'm talking about giving, it would, one of the big parts of it is, this is what a pull request is, right? And I'm going to walk you through what this looks like.
that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, I fall into that category. I want to publish my stuff, and I could learn how to do that, or just not.
Yeah, and I understand. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that, like, that's part of the kind of stuff that a lot of other languages kind of rely on their community to have. And that's the first thing you learn in every other place is how to kind of interact with other people's code, because you have to. And we don't have that.
Sorry, I'm pretty sure my server restarted, so.
Everything in our code is pretty much use it or don't use it.
Right.
The only thing you can do to influence this is try to go underneath the hood and talk to them behind the scenes and wait for them to publish a new version, and then you can use it or not use it, but it's not an end.
I'll pause this just real quick and introduce you guys to Caleb. If you guys have never met Caleb Knoll before, he works at NI. He's done it. You what?
I am.
Go ahead.
No.
So I got the chance to work with Caleb a fair amount in DACMX. He's spent a lot of time, and I mean a lot of time, on infrastructure, building, distributing, source code, and built executables. He was the guy who maintained all of the infrastructure that turns DACMX's source into DACMX as we know it. It's a generalization for Postman. So you're interested, are you gathering requirements, or what's your role at NI now?
I work closely with the Hacker Manager team. I am interested in hearing.
Cool.
I'm not saying, I would like to understand what.
Why I felt the need to.
No.
All right.
I think it's great. I honestly haven't heard of a way that NIPM is going to easily host community.
That's my concern with NIPM is I think that they're crushing it in the deploying runtime code, and I think that the deploying reuse code is an afterthought, and I can't enunciate what the difference is, but the fact that they are different and they should be approached differently, I think, is something that is, I think, being glossed over by the NIPM team. So, all right, so here's the demo. My server wasn't up and running at my house because the computer decided to restart, and I don't have it set up to do it. But whatever, so you've got a nice browser, you've got a nice, this is just a markdown file that I render. So when you publish a package, you give me the markdown file. I render it over here so you have a nice description with all your crap, and you can look at the change logs and the readmes and all that stuff. So I'll go ahead, so I'm going to install the JWT package because it depends also on the JSON package. So I'll install this. So it's going to actually do the download of the files now. It's going to put them on my file system.
Does it manage dependencies?
Yeah, it does all the dependency resolution. Yeah, so the JWT apparently has more dependencies than I thought. So I got those 4 packages installed with that one. Mass compiling here.
And just to be clear, you're overloading the word package. This is not a VI package or an NI package.
Right. But package is the generic term. The mass compile needs some tweaking. All right, so maybe not. Almost done. All right, install complete. So now I'll close this. So I opened that executable from this this project. So if we look at the file system, there's this JSON file. So if anybody's familiar with NPM, I'm 100% stealing this crap from NPM. This has the metadata that I put in that initialization form. It has the dependency list with the version range specification in there. So that's that file. So that file would be checked into source code control. So now anybody, when they got this from source code control, they would be able to recreate my packages. The packages themselves are installed in this directory that you notice is right next to my project file. So now I can come in here and I can say import packages to project, and it's going to add the package that I told to install. Oh. Totally feature.
How many times a day?
If there's looking for reuse code here,
So
and you're installing it next to the project, then how do you end up with multiple copies?
Every one of your project has multiple. So if you're using the JSON package on project A and on project B, they both have a copy of that JSON package. My rebuttal is, who cares about hard drive space?
It's not bad.
Go get about
Well, all right. So here's the thing. I think that is better. So you're updating the project now instead of updating the computer, right? All right. So I don't know. Is everybody on my team, or should I justify this?
So just be clear, you're allowing multiple versions of the same library to be installed on your computer.
Right, because the multiple versions are installed in different projects.
Yeah. Now,
And so when you open up Project A, you get version 1, and Project B has version 2.
How do you deal with namespacing issues? Does that mean you're never looking at project A and B at the same time?
Good question.
You should be able to open Project A and Project B at the same time.
A and B are the same version of same project, different versions.
So if you have project A that has package, Q, and project B also has a different version of package Q, if you open both of those LV-proj files, they both have, relative paths to their appropriate thing. So that should work. I can't say I've tested for sure, but that's a little more LabVIEW problem than my problem.
I don't know. I feel like when you remember correctly, opening up a VI from the context of the project, it's like opening up its own separate memory space.
Right, it's like sandbox.
Yeah.
So you can actually have different VIs, different VIs of the same name from different locations on disk loaded into memory simultaneously under different projects.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, I think I get around a lot of those weird issues by just putting the files right next to the project.
Now, next year, they're going to force you to do your projects as an option.
This also addresses one of the things I was going to ask you to talk about. That's how do you do reusable code in different versions of that? You have
Basically, you have to do it in the oldest version.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
How do you develop the code?
So you develop a reusable package.
Yeah.
You reusable. I'm going to use the word package in the generic term, whether it's whatever. But and you either have to have one version of that everything looks at, which is nice because it's updated.
You say everything, you mean all code in a specific version of LabVIEW or multiple versions of LabVIEW?
Well, that's the problem. Is do you have if you have a set of reused code, is that version specific? Is that code? Sorry. Do you recompile that code for a new version? Do you keep that in the oldest version that you need it?
Sure.
Or do you constantly push that all up to the old version?
There's two different models, pluses and minuses to each.
Yes.
You keep it in the oldest version, and then upon install, you just up-compile it, mass compile it in the version which you tend to use it. That's the VI package manager model. So the downside of that is you're going to pay at each install the mass compile time. The plus side to it is you get to use the same package in multiple versions of LabVIEW. Those are the pluses and minuses. On the other hand, if you have to compile the code for each version of LabVIEW, well, the downside is now you have 8 versions, 8 LabVIEW versions of the same source, and you pay at build time. But at install time, it's so much faster. So what's the requirement? Are you trying to optimize for install time or build time? And what flexibility do you need? That's going to drive that decision. Boy, have I faced that problem. So I used to own the DAC assistant. Not only would we compile for 8 versions of LabVIEW, we'd also have to compile for all of the languages for each version of LabVIEW on all of the OSs. So you can imagine, build time was through the roof. But we didn't want to penalize you, the customer, now me, the customer, at install time, right? And anyway.
So
What do you feel are the advantages and disadvantages of allowing multiple versions of the same library on a computer at the same time?
I think that you definitely have to allow. So the situations that I run into are, I haven't touched this code in 5 years. I have definitely updated all of my BIPM packages. So now if I go and touch that 5-year-old code, it was using the packages. I could have just introduced a bunch of bugs into my old code by just opening it and rebuilding it.
Right.
So if these are all installed like this, I have the version definition of the version of the package for this project set in stone and done. So VIPCs help you do some of this crap, right? So I just want to show you some other cool things that will hopefully sell you on this. All right. So first thing is, because I have all the information I need for that project, I can just hit delete on this, and then I'm going to go command line cd that and do GPM install. And what that's going to do is say, hey, you say you need these packages, and you don't actually have those packages, so I'm going to go ahead and install those packages for you. So that's why you don't check the packages into source code control. You check the dependency list, essentially, into source code control. And now everybody can just recreate the environment. So, of course, that failed.
No, I like the paradigm better. So instead of the computer having the singular version of your dependency library, each project can have its own version of the dependency library. To your point, I think
Yes.
that actually promotes stability.
Yes.
I like that.
Through revisions of
Well,
code and.
to his point, imagine that you have two different projects. You got it?
I do that.
So,
I've been doing source distributions as part of one of my builds, just to manage that issue
Yeah.
of packages changing behind my back.
Right.
so just other fancy bits that I think make this way better. This is a website. It's written as a LabVIEW web service that talks to the same database that is the server side of this tool. So this is a Google indexable thing. So when I search for, I did JWTs earlier, I find the thing. This is the website with the same README parsed into HTML, or Markdown parsed into HTML. So I can browse the whole registry from this website. Hopefully Google will pick that up and let me crush the search results.
I like this, man.
So I'm stoked on it, and the thing is I'm a little bit out of time to work on it, and with NextGen's NPM or NIPM, I don't know. Well, this not for current gen, but
Okay. So you can't have multiple versions of the same library installed even in NextGen.
oh really?
That's my.
I thought that was going to be a thing.
It's not yet.
Is it on the roadmap?
So I mean, things that NIPM misses is I think that this like nice README that we show to everybody
Sure.
that is a markdown file that takes 2 seconds to write is very beneficial. I think that publishing to a public repo, so I don't really want to publish here just because it's going to screw up what I got, but you essentially, once you have all your stuff figured out, you type GPM publish, and it zips it up and sends it to my server. My server gets it, it updates its database, and then like after that command is done executing, you can come on my website and download it. So I don't think NI will ever offer a kind of open feed like that. I don't blame them. NIPM is open enough that I can run a public feed, and I can write a little bit of server-side code and blah, 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 and I can make that happen. But, I mean, this is way cooler.
I mean, yeah, for Python packages, this is, if you go to Python, that's exactly how you would install reusable modules.
Right, I didn't invent this, right? I stole this.
Yeah, this is for that.
Right. Yeah, I use NPM, so to do this website, it's a bunch of JavaScript and whatever, and I'm using NPM, and I'm like, oh, this is clearly better than what we have. I want this, and that's kind of
So,
what.
I mean, you think this is, I mean, I guess your thing is like, you don't see this on the roadmap, you don't see this ever being something that NI would do, so let's do this.
Well, the thing is I have to fight NI to explain to them why I think these sorts of things are good, and instead of fighting NI, it's easier to write the tools.
Right.
Yes.
Should NI host something for the community, or should the community? I
So,
don't know.
so
I
with,
don't have
I
it.
think so. I think that the advantage to NI hosting your database is if you host it in your basement and your basement floods.
well, it's going to be hosted on Amazon. It's going to be hosted. So we're going to pay the $10 a month or whatever to run the micro instance and blah blah.
But I mean, I don't think it should be dependent on you. I mean, if this is that, gets that community big, it shouldn't be dependent on you at all. It should be.
Well, this will be open source. It's not currently open source because I kind of been keeping it secret, but doing a pretty good job of that. No. So this will be open source, and so I'm happy. I'm happy. You know, MGI is my company. We are happy to pay the $10 a month to host the server, which other than the two costs are like the development costs and the server costs, right? So the server costs are obviously basically nothing. So the development costs are, I've done a lot of it, you know, already. And I'm happy to put that up there and be open source, but like we just talked about, we have a shitty community, or not a shitty community, but you know what I mean, we don't know what we're doing as a community. So me posting as an open source tool is kind of only medium helpful. So I don't know, I want to do it, I really like this. So I use GPM to build GPM, and I've started using GPM on some of my real projects, and it's freaking great, and I love it. So
I'm on board. I'm just worried about the traction that we're going to get kind of across.
right, a crowdsourcing tool.
Everyone.
A crowdsourcing tool only works if there's a crowd.
Yes, exactly.
How would you solve that?
Well, I mean, you can solve that by bandwagon.
Well, that's why NIPM is going to win, right? Is because it's NI saying this is our thing.
Yeah, I'm saying,
Let's get behind sharing community code. I mean, I think that's.
Yeah.
well, so that's what
gotta
I'm
be
saying
answered, I
is if we can have this discussion at Architect Summit and get this in whatever version it is, but some version of this idea put into official channels, I think that's where you're gonna get.
What do you think about that? If NI was to steal this lock, stock, and barrel, any idea lock, stock, and barrel beneficial?
I mean, it kind of hurts my pride, but it kind of, at the same time, makes me feel good. No,
What is it?
no, I think that NI should be doing this, honestly, right?
Cool kid, and I stole something.
I think, like I said, I didn't do anything different to learn how Package Manager works. I looked at other languages who have a big ecosystem with lots of packages, right? And I stole what they did. And NI did that for NIPM, I think, but what they looked at was Linux packages like apt-get. They didn't look at NPM whatever, right? And so I think, like I said, I think they're crushing it on the runtime distribution of code, which is why this thing right now gets built as or published as an NIPM feed. But for reuse libraries, they're kicking the can, and I want things now. So I don't know. That's my rant.
I've got one quick question. I kind of missed this in the workflow. So you put in SVN, whatever your configuration management is, you put that JSON file that basically tells you and points to the current version, and then you run command line install, and it goes and gets the files. The files are not in SVN?
There are lots of files here. So what files are you confused?
The source code. Like
the source code is not in SVN.
So that's going not to your installation folder, but to where exactly on disk?
So my tool goes to the registry and grabs the files and puts them right next to it, basically. It being actually the configuration file that you're, the working directory that you're in. It doesn't have to be a project; it's just a working directory. So yeah. So basically, if you looked at what was checked into source code control for the project that I got there, it's the project file and it's that gpackage.json file, and you don't check in the rest. Right, this and this would be checked in. This folder would not be checked in. And you run the command in this working directory, and it knows how to parse this gpackage.json folder, and it rebuilds this folder for you.
Okay, I see. What I was getting at was if you work on a team, I don't have to tell somebody to go do this. I could actually just put this all in SVN.
So you would, they at least have to know to type GPM install. And I don't know exactly, I meant to do some Googling and research here of how do you, so if your dependencies change, right? So we were 2 months into the project and I realized I need to add this other reuse library. I don't know what the other languages do to communicate to the team that says, hey, you need to do a GPM update or a GPM install command or whatever. But this command, like the command syntax that I have is 100% stolen from NPM. So I'm trusting that they have figured that out a little bit, and I'm going to do what they do. But like I said, I think it's the kind of thing, like if you are in JavaScript world, you don't put in the project README that you're going to need to type npm install. Everybody knows that you're using npm. Everybody knows, it's like once the community kind of gets a level of familiarity with the standard tooling that everybody uses, it becomes like everybody, like you just open if you're in a JavaScript project, you clone the repo and then you type npm install, and that's how you get started on it. and kind of everybody knows that, you know.
How do you deal with getting things in the pallets or quick drop?
Quick drop, they'll be in there because they're in your project, and quick drop searches your project. Pallets is one of the things that I don't have a good answer for, but I know it's a problem. I think what it's going to be is some sort of tool that, like in your package, you have some sort of file that defines your palette, and then we have some UI, fancy UI tool that knows how to parse that file to do some sort of palette replacement type feature. I don't know what that is yet. We looked into kind of dynamically, as you open the project, rebuilding the packages, and for reasons that, you know, the IDE is old and doesn't have the hooks needed to really make that a doable thing. What's that?
Your multiple, or your palettes then be issued, you've got multiple copies of.
That's the kind of thing that you run. If you had multiple projects open, you would need to redo the palettes every time you switched from one application instance to the other. There's all these kind of problems that yeah, I don't have a great answer for. But the right answer is you should be using Quick Drop. So, no.
Well, there was one other thing about that too, and that is that you could still have examples, and you could pull those up.
Right.
At least for discoverability, you'd be able to see what's available and what you need to do.
So, yeah, so for example files would be downloaded with the package, but when you did that import into your project, it wouldn't add the example files to your project. And then when you ran our tool and you clicked on the package and you said, show me the example, I would open up those things that are on your file system. So yeah, that's the kind of thing that is in the, I don't know the answer to that yet, but it's not a deal breaker for me right now.
How about what licensing are you considering?
For my software or for the packages?
Both.
So my software is going to be open source, probably MIT license, but I haven't exactly decided on that. So MIT in general is you can reuse it, you can do all this stuff, but you have to say that you got it from me. The packages themselves, so let me open this guy.
On the documentation there, it mentioned it in a little line there.
What's that?
For the license, I thought I saw it somewhere where it said something said BSD on it.
Well, so MGI has a bunch of packages, and in general, our packages are published with BSD licenses. So when you initialize the thing, I think I have mine set to the default licenses BSD. But I mean, so I know licensing is going to be a thing, and it's on my list of further research topics. But basically, I have a tool here that you can go and click import, and so if it was working, unknown license, I don't know. So it is, I wish I could show you this, this is cool.
It almost has to be built on Next. You support Windows 3.1?
This is, well, the enum has it in it, yeah. So I don't know, but anyways, I have a UI that helps you, that queries the spdx.com site that kind of lists all of the licenses and helps you pick a license and then populate this license text with the appropriate thing. So in general, an MIT license, it says blah, 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 and you put your company name here, and then blah, 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 and you put the date here. And so I have a tool that talks to their thing, and they give it to me in a standard enough format so that I help you generate that license file.
Super cool.
So yeah, and then like I got a markdown editor in it, all this kind of like fancy stuff. So.
Maybe this is great. I use this.
What's that?
I use this.
I use it already, and I'm stoked about it. And Stephen Mercer crushed my dreams a little. Because he always crushes my dreams.
Well, sure.
Because I show up with not thought out, wild ideas, and he presents all of the reasons why you need to think about this.
He said that this wasn't good.
Well, his main feedback was you need to embrace the behemoth, right?
Of NIPM?
NI is the company that everybody is going to be installing software from. So they are going to have the biggest crowd and all this stuff.
So for anything tools network related, I mean, yes. I mean, we have a process that you have to get
vet it and validate it to publish through that. But I mean.
What I'm saying is, I don't want that process, right?
And, yeah, and for this pre-beta,
Oh, right.
again, for NIWeek, is there a place where that needs to be thought out?
Well, here's the problem. Everything that you're hosting becomes the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
Yes.
So download at your own risk. So
Yeah, for sure.
If
And
I'm at a no arrow, I'm not going to you.
right.
Yeah.
Well, you can't use open source in that
That's true.
So-
things that you can't use open source.
So
That's
NPM
true. That's
NPM is currently going through a lot of drama because there are cryptocurrency mining things that you accidentally include their thing, and now you're mining somebody's cryptocurrency in all of your users' browsers.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
So, I mean, if you have a dependency on some package and someone publishes a new version of that, all of a sudden you get a virus, and that's the wild.
Right, that's for sure is the Wild West, and my answer to that is check your shit before you publish it.
Oh,
And I honestly, it's no, but there's a spectrum, right? And currently, the tools network is on the most secure end of that spectrum.
Yeah.
And because of that, you have this that you haven't published. I have a bunch of shit that I haven't published. You've got stuff that you haven't published, right? And so maybe I'm going too far on this side of the. But as a person who's hosting things for free, I'm going to go on the least amount of work side. So
trust is really important. Is there a way that I can publish a package under my name and then I get trust points so that people know and trust stuff from me?
So again, I've stolen this from NPM. You see everything right here starts with @MGI.
Okay.
Only people who are part of the MGI team can publish to the @MGI
How do you regulate
scope.
How do they,
That is regulated through a process of the person who runs the feed, which is MGI. So, so if you wanted to publish a package as a random person, it would just show up as JWT. You wouldn't have that @blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So this is what is called like a scoped package, and that's kind of how you do it. So if you wanted to get @Cirrus scope, you would, right now it's something like you would send me an email and I would say like, oh, I know this guy, it's cool, I'll give him this.
Sure.
Yeah, how do you
Well,
prevent
well, he has a, there's a user account. I mean, this is like straight up.
Oh, okay. So you sign.
Yeah, so, sorry, I left that out.
So
I have the user creation stuff turned off right now. But yeah, no, you would, so anybody who publishes a package needs to at least create an account. Yeah, and then anybody who wants to have like an @MGI needs to at least email me and prove to me, you know, through our company process that they are that entity, and then we'll give them that protected scope.
That's the same thing.
And I could do that, but the thing is, and I always, people meaning managers think that because it comes from NI's tools network, it means that it is fancy vetted NI code. And I think that some of us as consultants let our customers believe more or trust that more than they should. And I know this because I was sitting at presentations yesterday where people were like, oh yeah, I felt it come from the tools network, and then they're like, oh, it's from NI, and that's not what it means, right? Like the NI stuff, when you send it to them, it's going to like a slightly above AE kind of experience level person, and they're clicking through it a bunch, and then they're emailing you back stupid questions, and you're like, no, you're stupid, and email it back to them, and you go through that for a while, and then your package gets published. So like, spoiler alert, that's how that works.
You missed your problem. You should have been.
So I don't know. But I mean, the moral of the story is the tools network is one end of the spectrum. I want this to be at the other end of the spectrum. Where on the other end of the spectrum that is, I don't exactly know. Right now, it's create a user. Anybody can create a user account. It's just like an automated click the verify email, and then you can publish on my page.
But I think what you're saying is that as soon as any of this gets attached to a person, I think I have a lot more
That's
Yeah.
Fake it.
Well, and I'd like
I
to-
mean,
Right. Yeah. So I will. If you
I know
publish.
your code,
Sure.
I'm gonna go download it, and
Aw.
if you give me a virus, I'm gonna.
Right, if you
I'm
publish,
not gonna
if you publish, I know your email address, at least, right? I know, I'm gonna ask you for your first name, your last name, your email address. So, those things can all be varying levels of fake, but I will at least have an email that I can go, yell at.
I was just gonna say that in addition to like knowing the person and establishing a history of them, you can also see like the download count.
Yeah.
And if it's from a guy that you like and it's been downloaded 100,000 times, I feel like you can get a sense of I could at least try that.
Agreed. So that's how
I think,
community establishes
I think
trust.
early on, that's gonna be important here.
Well, right. Not necessarily. So
I mean, this already has 11 downloads, so it's basically.
So,
Your package wasn't.
right now, this is not a technical problem, it's actually a marketing problem. So what I would, the way that I would go about doing this if I was you is being in the champions traffic, like announcing it, going to the CLA summit.
Yeah, no, my plan is at the CLA Summit to present on it.
Totally. And those European, now you have a good excuse to get sent up.
Well, someone wants to pay for that plane ticket.
That's and I usually pay for it.
So.
All right.
We had time, yeah. So, appreciate you guys listening here.
All right, everybody. Wait. Let's wait till he gets the.
It's
thumbs
ready.
up.
It's going.
Ready? Okay. On this note. Happy birthday.